Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So we're another boss in. So now we're at Terestian Illhoof. So I'll hand over to Stu. This is quite a simple encounter. Before I do hand over, I'll just a brief group composition. So it's a 2-tank fight because you want 1 tank on the imp. You ideally want a warlock. A warlock trivializes this fight quite drastically. Without a warlock, you'll still be able to do it just fine, but you will have to have a dedicated AoE to take out all the little imps. And then you want 2 to 3 healers. We roll with 2 healers. You might want 3 if you're slightly undergeared. We did start with 3 healers, but the longer this fight drags out, the more boring it is. So my advice would be 2 tanks, 2 healers, and then a mixture of DPS, but trying to make sure one of those DPS is a warlock. So Stu, do you want to just talk us through the abilities?
Yes. Yeah, Illhoof's abilities. Shadow Bolt, that's a 4k hit, the highest target on the aggro list. He casts a Sacrifice, which casts a raid member in chains. They suffer 1500 damage a second, and it also heals Illhoof for 3000 per second. So, yeah, it's quite a deadly ability. Only other thing he does is Fiendish Portals, summon loads of imps continuously, basically, through 2 portals, and then he berserks after 10 minutes. That's Illhoof. And then Kill Wreck, he does Amplify Flames.
Sorry, who's Kill Wreck?
Kill Wreck is his little buddy. His little imp buddy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know him? Little fella?
Yeah, nice little fella. Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice guy. Short. Nice and short, isn't he? Short but fat.
Yeah, that's him. So he does Amplify Flames, that increases fire damage taken. And then Broken Pact, when he dies, he puts a debuff on Illhoof, which increases damage done to Illhoof by 25%.
So it sounds like a nuke phase. Sounds like you kill the imp, then you nuke the boss hard with cooldowns, so he's taking 25% extra damage.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Definitely. So talk us through the strategy anyway, what we do. What do we do on this fight, Scott?
Yeah, so...
We're all dying to know.
Yeah, well, we try to... the best way to do it, you want a nice, strong, single-target tank on the boss. So that could be, a warrior, a paladin. Paladin's perfectly fine. Then you want an off-tank, like a druid, which would be ideal. So if you've got a feral druid who just goes in bear just to tank the imp, then when the imp is down, he can go cat forms and nuke the boss. So when we said it's a 2-tank fight at the start, it is, but it's not all the way through. So whenever the imp's down, it would be useful to have a tank that can do some damage. So preference would be a feral druid off tank for this, because obviously when it's taking 25% extra damage, you've got that feral DPS in cat form that's pumping. So if you can get them pumping. And then obviously healers, 2 healers, doesn't really matter what 2. The majority of it's quite quick focused healing. So you'll be focused healing on the tanks when the imp's up, or the tank when the imp's down. And then when someone gets sacrificed, you want to be obviously focusing heals on the sacrifice. This is something where a bit of communication between the 2 healers to make sure that you're not both switching to the sacrifice and the tank dies, vice versa. You want a macro, which I'll put on screen now, which is /tar space demon, which basically you're going to be targeting the demon chains. So when someone gets sacrificed, you can spam that macro to just quickly get off instant casts. If you're melee, just quickly turn around, smash it as hard as you can. Get those chains down quick. Because like Stu's already explained, obviously the longer they're in the chains, the more damage they're going to take, the more healing Illhoof is going to receive. And then the rest of the pressure is on your AoE DPS. So ideally a warlock. If you've got the warlock, then the warlock's just going to keep tabbing and casting Seed of Corruption, tab Seed of Corruption. That's their job all the way through the fight, is just getting Seed of Corruption on as many targets as possible, because they can literally solo the imps. If you haven't got a warlock, it can be tricky. I personally wouldn't want to do this fight without a warlock. But if you've got a mage, obviously they're quite capable of AoE, but anybody who has played on private servers in TBC knows, or played back in the day in TBC, Warlock's Seed of Corruption is just so ridiculously overpowered that doing this fight without one, you almost feel like you're gimping yourself. So preferably take a warlock. If you haven't, you might need to assign 2 people possibly to AoE and the ads down to keep them under control. If you've got a warlock, just leave them to it. And that's it. Then it's just a case of rotating between nuking the imp whenever it's up, the big imp, you get it down, then you can nuke the boss with a 25% extra damage. One thing worth noting is you don't actually need, if you don't want a full focus damage on the imp, you can more or less let the warlock Seed of Corruption, if you've got one, take the imp out plus the damage of the off tank, and then just general cleave. We personally would advise that you just nuke the imp, because the quicker you get rid of the imp, then you can get your off tank back into cat form if you've got a druid to just start nuking the boss hard. And this boss dies pretty quick. It's not overly difficult. Any thoughts, Stu?
No, not really. Just some tips, really. The standard thing that you use, mages, to get out of the chains. You can ice block, paladins, divine shield. I believe druids can bark skin to reduce the damage taken. That's about it, really.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we're another boss in. We are now at Terestian Camelhoof. Camelhoof? Wait. What's his name?
Let's try Illhoof this time.
Oh, Illhoof!
Terestian Illhoof.
Well, I've been streaming and drinking all night. I don't know. We probably shouldn't do this at, what is it, like nearly midnight or 11 o'clock, wherever time it is. Camel. Why have I got camel toe? Camel toe. It's not even camel hoof.
No, Illhoof.
Illhoof. All right, so camel hoof.
I'll do it if you want me to.
No. It's all right. We'll just go straight from there. Right, so, ladies and gentlemen, so we're another boss in. Now we're at Terestian Camel Toe. No, Ill Toe. Camel Hoof Toe. What is wrong?
Lord.
Camel Toe. Hoof. Ill Hoof. I've got Camel Toe on the brain.
Illhoof. I'll just do it.